The Dick Van Dyke Show. Starring Dick Van Dyke. Rosemary, Maury Amsterdam, Larry Matthews, and Mary Tyler Moore.
Hello, Dick Van Dyke Show friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is KJ Ricardo. Today's episode is a look at my list of the top 10 episodes of Season 4 of The Dick Van Dyke Show. We're moving into my Season 4 content. I really enjoyed this season. There are a lot of great episodes, so let's get started. Number 10 is The Redcoats Are Coming. This was a really fun episode. This British pop duo singers are appearing on the Brady Show this week. I believe this episode is inspired by the Beatles. This episode aired about a year after the Beatles invaded America, and so I believe this episode is inspired by that. Rob has to invite the Redcoats over to his house. It has to be very secretive. No one is supposed to know that they're staying in New Rochelle. All these fans are following them to hotels, so it's a great plan. But a group of girls eventually find them, see them at the house, and everyone goes crazy. It's a really great episode. Number 9 is 3 Letters from One Wife. I really enjoyed this episode. This is the first episode where we get to see Alan Brady, his face. That's pretty great. Played by Carl Reiner, the creator and producer of The Dick Van Dyke Show. He's appearing on this show that he doesn't really know how it's going to go. And so Millie decides to send all of these letters praising the show. But it turns out the show didn't air. But these letters were sent out. And so it's a big situation. Millie got herself into a big pickle with sending all these letters, and it's just a really great episode featuring that. Number 8 is My Mother Can Beat Up My Father. This is the first episode of Season 4. At the beginning, Rob is in the hospital, and the episode serves as a flashback. They're at this bar, and some guy is hitting on Laura. And so Rob is like, you can't do this. And eventually the guy punches Rob in the nose. And Laura decides to take action. And it's a really funny scene. I have a clip of it, so enjoy.
Little cutie pussies like you, huh?
You! What's that? I told you I didn't want to fight, but I think I'd better warn you. I'm a black belt karate expert, and these hands are registered with the police department as lethal weapons. Now, I'm obliged by law to tell you that first.
Rob? Well, thanks for the warning. Hey, come on, baby. Let's you and I go dance.
Knowing exactly who Rob is, it shouldn't be a surprise that Rob becomes really fascinated that Laura can beat people up. She could probably even beat up Rob. And so he decides to ask her that because he's just so focused on it, fixated on this. And so he decides to test it out, and she can beat him up. It's a really great scene. I love it.
It is not silly. You think you can beat up on me, and I say you can't. Now, come on. I'm ready to attack.
You mean you're gonna hit me?
No, just make believe.
Oh.
Now, come on. Let's go. I'm coming.
Yay for Mommy!
Number 7 is Show of Hands, another great episode. In the beginning, Laura is helping Richie with a class project. He has to dye a sheet black, and so she's helping, but she accidentally dyes her hands black. Rob comes home, and he does the same thing. He ends up getting his hands dyed black. It's a real pickle, a real situation. They are supposed to go to a dinner. It's a cultural dinner. And so they are very embarrassed. They cover up their hands with gloves. the best they can because they don't want it to seem like they're making fun or trying to make a joke. But it all works out in the end because once the truth is out, everyone seems to take it pretty well. Number 6 is 4½, and the Alan Brady Show goes to jail. It's a 2-parter episode, so I'm combining them together. In the first part, it's a flashback to when Laura was pregnant with Richie, and Rob and Laura get stuck in an elevator with a robber, guest starred by the amazing comedian Don Rickles. So that episode focuses on them trying to get out of the elevator. The second part is when the Alan Brady Show goes to the jail where this man is at to perform, to put on a show for all the prisoners. So everyone is performing. Sally sings a beautiful number, and Rob is supposed to perform with Laura, but he gets mistaken as a prisoner, so he's thrown into jail. He has to find his way out, and of course, like always, he manages to get out of jail and perform a great number with Laura. Number 5 is the Impractical Joke. I love this episode. At a party, Buddy decides to prank Rob. So he has someone else do it because obviously Rob would identify Buddy's voice, but it's a great scene where they're prank calling Rob with saying something's wrong with your telephone. And so the next day, Buddy is very cautious, like, I know you're going to get me back. And eventually it seems like Rob is getting Buddy back with this man who's come about Buddy's taxes. Buddy didn't fill out a tax form, and so he might be getting into really bad legal problems. And so Buddy doesn't believe it. He thinks it's a joke, but eventually it is a joke. And it's one of my favorite moments of the entire show.
May I have the torn form, please?
There you are, sir. I'll be glad to do anything. I'll do it.
Well, this shouldn't be too complicated. We'll take this form, tape it together. Then you make out a new form, copying this one exactly.
Yes, sir. I'll do it.
Then put both forms in a paper bag, wave it over your head, and
Scream like a chicken!
Facsimile, and I didn't help anybody. I got you myself for myself. Great job.
I knew it all the time.
Number 4 is 100 Terrible Hours. I really love this episode. This is another flashback episode. Dick Van Dyke does a great job with flashbacks. It's about Rob's days when he was a disc jockey for a radio station in Danville, Illinois. He is supposed to be on the air for 100 hours. That is over 4 days. He's trying to break a record, a stay awake-a-thon. And so he's doing it. He's starting to lose his mind. He's going insane, and he's very emotional about this story about this little kitty cat who's stuck in a tree. And so there are a lot of great moments in this episode, and I just love it a lot. And number 3 is Pink Pills and Purple Parents. The previous episode really featured Rob. Now this episode really features Laura. Rob's parents are coming. This is a flashback to when they first got married, and Laura is meeting Rob's parents for the first time. She's really nervous, so she takes some of Millie's anti-anxiety pills to relieve any stress. The pills backfire, and Laura starts acting very kind of drunk. She's all over the place. And so his parents are concerned, thinking, oh, he's married a drunkard. And there are a lot of moments in this episode that are really hysterical, and that's why I love it. Number 2 is The Ghost of A. Chantz. I really love this episode. In this episode, the Alan Brady Show are staying at this lodge cabin that's apparently haunted. But only Rob and Buddy know about this. They're trying to keep it a secret from the women. We get a great scene where Rob and Buddy are trying to sleep. The door keeps opening and the rocking chair starts rocking back and forth by itself by this ghost, supposedly. Then Laura is brushing her hair and she sees this man in the mirror, and so she freaks out. So everyone knows about this ghost. So they're trying to figure out what to do. They sleep together, or they get into the couch together, and it seems like it's a man-eating couch where it closes up on them. And one by one, everyone starts to disappear until Rob is the only one left. And so eventually it turns out that this was all set up by Alan Brady and Mel Cooley as part of the Alan Brady Show, and it's a really great episode. But my number one pick is Never Bathe on Saturday. I really love this episode. In this episode, Rob and Laura are staying at a hotel. They're going to go to a theater show. Laura decides to take a bath. So she goes in and takes a bath, and her toe gets stuck in the drain. And we get a funny part where she says, "I was playing with the drip." And so it's a really classic episode of Dick Van Dyke. He tries to break down the door. He wants to come in and save her from this. And eventually they have to have someone come in, and their whole evening is ruined. And I really like this episode. It was the last episode Carl Reiner wrote for on the Dick Van Dyke Show. And I think it's a pretty great episode to conclude a writing career. And that's it. That's all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed. There are a lot of great episodes from season 4. And there's way more than 10. But here's my top 10 list for you. Let me know what your favorite episode is. It's okay if your list is different than mine. We all have our different likes and interests, and these are ones that I really like and can watch over and over again. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with another video. And remember to always laugh often.